Did the pill create the first cyborgs? In this video, I'm going to be exploring some very interesting insights from Mary Harrington, a secular journalist who surprisingly ends up confirming what the Catholic Church has been saying all along. Let's take a look.
More recent, but anyway, Tell us about the cyborg.
The pithiest way I can say this is to make the claim that the contraceptive pill is the first transhumanist technology. And by that I mean it's the first major widespread social biomedical intervention which aims not at fixing something which has gone wrong with normal health, but upgrading normal, in line with what people want. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you think about what contraceptive pill does, it actually interrupts normal healthy fertility in the interests of essentially personal freedom.
It is so refreshing to hear a secular journalist speaking truth into this issue. She believes, and I think she's absolutely right, that the pill is the beginning of what she's calling a cyborg revolution. Okay, why cyborg? Here's definition of cyborg that I looked up on Google. A cyborg is a fictional or hypothetical person whose physical abilities are extended beyond normal human limitations by mechanical elements built into the body. Why did the pill turn women into cyborgs? As she says, for the first time, we have what we're calling a medicine being used not to aid a body that is not functioning properly to function properly. Now we are taking a pill, women are taking a pill to render a healthy functioning part of their bodies unable to function. See, what is the purpose of medicine and technology? Medicine and technology is to aid health. That means when something is not functioning healthily, if medicine and technology can aid us in functioning healthily, we're working in the right direction. For example, if I cannot see, we know eyes are meant for seeing, right? If I'm blind and medicine and technology can give me sight, we are working in the right direction. But if we use medicine and technology to gouge out my perfectly functioning eyes or blind me, right, we're working against health. Did you know, a lot of people don't, that when the pill was first put on the market, many doctors rightly refused to prescribe it because they rightly saw it as a contradiction of the Hippocratic Oath. The first principle of which, or the most important principle of which states, I will not do anything to cause harm, right? And when you are rendering a perfectly functioning womb unable to function, you're causing harm. This is not health, this is harm. And she's saying that with the pill, we have now embraced a kind of cyborg mentality. Where does it go? Let's keep watching.
And in that sense, it's a radically different paradigm for what biomedical technologies can and should do. And that obviously, as we know, was legalized and spread like wildfire in the 1960s. And downstream of that came a whole load of other technological transformation. We're a good way further down.
Okay, so we're going to look next at where the pill, according to Mary Harrington, has taken us. She says we're a good deal further downstream from that mentality that justifies causing harm, right? We now believe it's healthcare to alter the body's proper functioning in causing harm, and we call it healthcare. What is the next step? I render the womb sterile, I call it healthcare. Well, what happens when huge numbers of people are now having sex and they've already determined by the choice of using contraception that they do not want this act to result in a child? Well, we all know that no method of contraception is 100% effective. What's going to happen? A huge increase in unwanted pregnancies. What's the next step? This is what she explores now, showing the link between the embrace of the pill and the embrace of abortion? Let's look.
Why is legalization of abortion a consequence of the pill?
Well,
yeah.
People hope, when they campaigned first for the pill, the hope was that there would be, as a result of the pill, there would be fewer accidental pregnancies, and therefore, it would make women's reproductive choices much more within women's control. But what happened in practice was, the absolute number of accidental pregnancies went up, not down, and that was because there was just so much more casual sex happening. Because it radically moved the goalposts for what you could or couldn't do. And it's only mostly effective. It's not 100% effective. So there were still enough pregnancies. Despite
more, in fact.
The rate of accidental pregnancy went down, but there was so much more sex happening that the absolute number went up. And at that point, it created an inevitable ratchet towards saying, well, what are we going to do about all these accidental pregnancies?
So listen to this. The Supreme Court in 1992, in a case called Planned Parenthood versus Casey, which took place right in my home state of Pennsylvania, said this, and I quote, "In some critical respects, abortion is of the same character as the decision to use contraception. For 2 decades, this was 1992, for 2 decades of economic and social developments, people have organized intimate relationships and made choices that define their views of themselves and their places in society in reliance on the availability of abortion in the event that contraception should fail." Right? So many people think the way you solve the abortion problem is by getting more contraception out there. Time out. Take a deeper look. That is like throwing gasoline on a fire to try to put it out. Right? In the final analysis, there is one reason we have abortion. Because men and women are having sex who are not open to the gift of human life. In the final analysis, there's one reason we have abortion. Because in our minds, we have severed sex and babies. And we're making all these choices for the pleasure of sex, assuming it has nothing to do with babies. And I can just, at my own whim, cut babies out of the equation. Which is why you hear people saying the strangest things like, I got pregnant by accident. Wait a minute, were you having sex? Well, yeah, but the condom broke, or I forgot to take my pill that day. We now blame pregnancy not on our choice to engage in the act that brings pregnancy about. We now blame pregnancy on failed contraception. And then the demand for the backup plan to failed contraception, which is kill the baby, becomes legal. We live in a world that values its sexual pleasure so much as a supreme value that we are ready and willing to kill human lives to continue to pursue the so-called right to unlimited sexual pleasure. Sex and babies go together. This is the natural reality of things, right? When we honor that, when we reverence that, when we respect that, the relationship of man and woman falls into place in a beautiful, not easy, but beautiful way, right? What is our supreme value? Is it the value and dignity of a human life? Or is it the value of sexual pleasure? This is the dividing line between the cultural perspective on sex and the church's perspective on sex. In the secular culture perspective, the supreme value is pleasure, right? And we will sacrifice other people for that supreme value. Whereas in the perspective of the church, the supreme value is human life. And we are willing to sacrifice our pleasure to honor that value. You judge for yourself. What is more valuable, sexual pleasure or human life? I think the fundamental question is that fact that women alone get pregnant, but they never get pregnant alone, right? Is that fact good? Is this something to celebrate or eliminate? Is it something to embrace or erase? Our answer to that question, whether fertility is something to celebrate or eliminate, embrace or erase, takes us in two diametrically opposed directions. One is a full celebration of the beauty and goodness of our creation as male and female in the image and likeness of God. The other is the beginning of a cyborg revolution that ends in a complete reinvention of what it means to be human, which is to say, the destruction of what it means to be human. Again, this is not some prediction of an apocalyptic future. This is the world we're living in now. And in this final clip I want to show you, Mary Harrington very insightfully demonstrates how when we eliminate fertility from the sexual equation, when we try to kind of remove that risk and even that, she calls it a danger. And I know what she's getting at here. There's something rightly dangerous about sex, not in a negative sense, but in the sense of, wow, this takes my whole life. If I keep fertility in the equation, sex is now potent and dangerous in a good sense. When we eliminate that kind of potency and danger, look what Mary Harrington suggests comes in to replace it. Whew. All right, here we go.
You can't have the intensity and the mystery and the beauty of a sexual encounter without the danger.
She means fertility.
Fundamentally, we take sex seriously, or have historically taken sex seriously, because there's the potential of creating another human. And once you take that out of the picture, something strange happens to the entire field of sexuality. And again, I can't prove this because it's just a hunch, but I'm willing to bet that if contraception was no longer part of the picture, most of the cultural interest in BDSM would go away. You know, most of the choking.
Did you hear what she just said? If contraception was not part of the sexual equation, right, BDSM would no longer be something that the culture is embracing, right? Sadomasochism, violence inserted into the sexual act. And she'll explain why she believes this in just a moment here. But I think this is fascinating. The mystery, the attractiveness, the stunning value and beauty, the stunning wonder of human sexuality is the fact of fertility, right? Remove that, and we're going to have to seek the adventurous reality of sexuality, the dangerous side of it, if you will, in another way. This is her proposal. Let's look.
Most of the role-playing, most of the other ways that people look to put the danger and the intensity in to a sexual encounter, which has been sort of neutralized. It's kind of vegan bacon equivalent of the sexual encounter. You know, it's almost the same, but not quite. And so you have to add more hot sauce. And that's where you get all of these, you know, escalating levels of degrading, disgusting kind of kink and extremities. People are trying to add the hot sauce back into something which is fundamentally vegan bacon. And the obvious solution, if you're starting to get inured to the hot sauce, is, you know, have the bacon. But that means you put the danger back in.
Yes, have the real bacon, right? What has contraception done to sex? It's turned it into vegan bacon. I love this. This is so insightful. Why are we going for vegan bacon when the real bacon is right there? Why are we trying to add our own hot sauce when the hot sauce is already put there by God? The hot sauce, the heat, the glory, the intensity, the danger, the profundity, the mystery of sexuality is precisely that the two becoming one flesh in the normal course of events, the two leads to a third. That's the grand adventure of human sexuality. What would the world look like? And I think this is her basic proposal. And guess what? It's the basic proposal of the Catholic Church too. What would the world look like if we honored the true adventure, intensity, danger, mystery, beauty, wonder of sexuality as God made it to be? by keeping fertility in the equation? What would the world look like if we were willing to sacrifice our own pursuit of pleasure in service of the true value and dignity of the human person with whom we are claiming to make love, and the human person who may result from the fact that we're making love? What would that world look like? Versus what does a world look like where the supreme value is sexual pleasure and people are treated as a means to that pleasure or as an obstacle? If you're a means to it, I'll use you for a time. If you're an obstacle, I might even kill you. Wow. From a secular journalist, Mary Harrington, we have a profound confirmation of what the Catholic Church has been saying here all along. Could it be that secular journalists will eventually be the ones who exonerate the teaching of the Catholic Church? If you want to learn more about this grand, beautifully dangerous, vital, potent, powerful adventure that is God's plan for human sexuality, check out the link below, TOB for free, and we will send you 3 free sessions to our introductory class. What did you think of Mary Harrington's perspectives? What did you think of my interpretation of them? Share in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys and what you're thinking. I find this stuff profoundly provocative, evocative. What do you think?